Good evening, you're watching this Mongolian World. I'm your host, Tavan. And for top stories, about $600 million are needed to build the Tolgoi thermal power plant. The French representatives got acquainted with the activities of the Nomadic Agro Farm. A discussion on budget reform was organized. And for the news, stay tuned. The regular meeting of the government was held on April 12th. At the meeting, the draft revisions of the law on political parties initiated by the President of Mongolia, the implementation of measures to reduce traffic congestion in the capital city, the measures to be taken regarding this Tolgoi Joint Stock Committee, Tolgoi thermal power plant were discussed. 29 issues were planned to be discussed and familiarized with, including some measures to intensify the implementation of the project. The company that won the tender will pay 70%, and the Tolgoi company will pay the remaining 30%, or about $180 million, over a period of 3 years. At first, the 300-megawatt station of Tolgoi thermal power plant will be built and put into operation. And if the consumption becomes constant and reliable, the next 105-megawatt station will be built. If the 300-megawatt station of Tolgoi thermal power plant is built in the first place, it will be providing 1.3 billion kilowatts annually. It is estimated the Oyu Tolgoi underground mine will use 2 billion kilowatts once it's fully operational. So far, we will provide 1.3 billion kilowatts internally. The remaining requirement will be supported by the existing inner Mongolian system. 187 billion MNT funding for the construction of highways and road facilities to reduce traffic congestion was decided at today's cabinet meeting. 16.4 km of access roads and 963.7 km of bridge facilities are planned in 11 locations for Ulaanbaatar city, and 4.3 km of road construction is planned to be completed in 4 different locations. With this 187 billion MNT funding solution, we can reduce traffic congestion without building any new major roads. As a part of their silver recovery project, a retaining wall will be built along the river in the capital from Sonsultan Road to Damdarja Park. And a public transport route will be built consisting of 21.6 km of highways, 18 access bridges, 4 bridge facilities, 9 tunnels and 43.2 km of sidewalk and bicycle path, as well as 64 public transport stops. We had only one crossroad, so now this road will be built along the Silver River, 22 km on both sides or 44 km in total, and public and private vehicles will be able to travel freely, and 3 large bridges will be built as part of this project. There is a provision in the budget law of Mongolia that does not pay a salary to a retired person. Nevertheless, today there are 6,161 people who receive both a pension and salary from the state budget. According to recent research, the budget spends 7.5 billion MNT per month and about 30 billion MNT per year on wages. 156 people receive a double salary, even though their pensions have been set as special civil servants. Therefore, by stopping paying salaries to people of retirement age, it will save about 31 billion MNT annually. A delegation led by the French Minister of Agriculture and Food, Marc Fesneau, paid an official visit to Mongolia from 7th through 9th of April. This is the first visit of the Minister of Agriculture and Food of France to Mongolia. Since 2013, Nutrition Agro LLC has been importing dairy cows of the Mongolian breed from France and developing cluster farms of dairy cows in Bayan-Dilgir and Arghlan-Sums of Tuul province. Therefore, the Minister of Agriculture and Food of France got acquainted with the operation of the farm and was interested in how the highly productive animals of his country are adapting to the Mongolian conditions. Moreover, Mongolia has a desire to cooperate with France in the direction of improving animal breeds within the framework of the development of intensive animal husbandry. The Minister of Food, Agriculture and Light Industry, received the guests of France. They exchanged views on issues such as product registration and protection. Although political relations between two countries are at an excellent level, the administrative coordination agreement was renewed in 2022, considering the fact that the potential of economic relations and trade, especially in the agriculture and food sectors, is not yet being fully utilized. They exchanged views on the three main areas of administrative regulation, rural development, adding value to livestock and agricultural products in economic circulation, and cooperation in promoting geographical indications of Mongolian products, especially in products such as dried mare's colostrum and colostrum oil. The visit was very short. However, Mongolia is similar to France in that it has a vast land, a tradition of animal husbandry, and the potential for more animal husbandry. Mongolians have become familiar with the French Mongolia breed. We are especially interested in importing meat and dairy breeds. Also, it is possible to cooperate with the Mongolians on the French side in the field of training, and on the other side, how to ensure the hygiene of animal products from the farm or to the consumer's table. There are many good products in Mongolia. Those products should be recognized not only in Mongolia but abroad. France has 90 years of experience in protecting products with geographical indications. Product protection protects the profession on the one hand and the products of the region on the other. By making Mongolia's high-quality products known abroad, Mongolia will be able to export its products to its immediate neighbors and even more distant neighbors. Several major visits are planned between the two countries in 2023, and the first visit started with the agricultural sector. The Minister of Agriculture and Food of France emphasized that Mongolian cashmere companies, which supply 40% of the world's cashmere products, are starting a cooperation agreement with the world-famous French brands Chanel and Hermès. On April 12, the Standing Budget Committee of Parliament organized a discussion regarding budget reform on collaboration with the UNDP project of supporting employment reform through budget planning in line with Sustainable Development Goals in Mongolia. A group of 32 members of the parliament believe that it is imperative to ensure transparency of the budget, make budget-related information accessible to the public, promote public participation and control, and enforce the law on budget and budget stability. They have initiated a project and submitted it to the Speaker of Parliament, and the discussion is unique as it is being held with the draft law is under discussion. The budget law is approved once a year, but in the last 10 years it has been approved 23 times for various reasons. Additionally, medium-term fiscal framework statements or key policy documents were adopted 32 times. Moreover, since the implementation of the law on budget stability, the law has been amended 13 times. This clearly indicates that budget policy planning is unstable, lacks realistic calculations, discipline and public control. Therefore, we need to implement budget reforms effectively and without delay. Tufshin Dux, the director of the Economic Research Institute, participated in the discussion and delivered a speech on the topic of effect of fiscal expansion policy, implementation of the fiscal stability law over the last 10 years. He highlighted that 10 years have passed since the implementation of the law on budget stability, but fiscal discipline and law enforcement have been inadequate. He pointed out the economy has become overly dependent on mining, leading to symptoms of Dutch disease, where a large influx of foreign cash to exploit a newfound resource causes unforeseen problems to an economy. The results of this study were presented on what the results would be if the excessive wasteful budget policy had not been implemented. According to the results of the survey, a total budget expenditure will not exceed the upper limit, the share of budget expenditure in GDP will decrease, the budget deficit will not exceed the upper limit or 2% of GDP starting from 2018, the government debt will decrease faster, and it will fall within the 60% limit starting from 2018. It was clarified that it was possible to have positive indicators. Subsequently, Sukhtilgir, general consultant of the project supporting employment reform through budget planning aligned with the SDGs implemented by the UNDP, delivered a speech on the topic introduction of results-based budgeting. Prior to the speech, Sukhtilgir emphasized that Mongolia's economy is overly dependent on mining and export products, has limited diversification, and is thereby fragile and unstable, which is the main reason for social and economic inaccessibility and inequality. Next, the initiators of the law presented the draft law on resolution on budget reform, which will be carried out based on four main policies: policy to ensure fiscal stability, policy to improve budget planning, transparency and openness, policy to enhance budget discipline and control, and policy on foreign loans, aid and debt limitation. Jargma, a member of the parliament, presented her contribution on the topic of budget stability. Sandagocher, a member of the parliament, presented a contribution on the topic of budget planning and transparency, while Puruvdorch, another member of the parliament, presented the topic of fiscal discipline and control. The discussion proceeded with a questions and answers session among the participants. Thank you for staying with us. Now let's take a look at the currency exchange rates provided by Mongol Bank. Here's the international news from our partner agencies. A group of journalists protested Wednesday in the Bolivian capital of La Paz against a new press bill promoted by the government's majority in Congress. The government has said the bill is intended as a complementary measure to be in accordance with international human rights. It includes one article that penalizes racism, hate discourse, discrimination, and racial superiority ideology. The Press Federation of La Paz fears that the law can be used against legitimate investigations against government officials and has dubbed the initiative a gag bill. Carlos Salcedo, president of the Press Federation of La Paz, said freedom of expression is granted by current press law, which is nearly 100 years old. They're judicializing our work. It's even suggested 7-year prison terms for doing our functions. So our work can be subject to persecution. The press law gives us right, and they want to ignore it. It's a law that in 2 years will be 100, and they want to ignore it. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi met Wednesday with Emirati President Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan in Cairo, and the two leaders discussed bilateral relations as well as the latest developments in the region. The United Arab Emirates have been a stauncher backer of Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi since the Muslim Brotherhood's ouster in 2013. However, there are signs that the Gulf state is becoming less willing to support what is seen as a troubled economic model. Last week, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi met with the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the de facto leader of Saudi Arabia, in the Saudi coastal city of Jeddah and the Red Sea. The leaders held talks that focus on ties between the two Middle Eastern heavyweights, according to Egyptian presidential spokesman Ahmed Fahmy. Saudi Arabia and other Arab Gulf states have been the main suppliers of aid to the Egyptian government, which has been struggling to overcome a staggering economic crisis. In 2022, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates pledged a total of $22 billion in deposits and direct investment in Egypt in a bid to stabilize its battered economy after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Here's the weather forecast of all major cities. Well, that's all for today, and thank you for staying with us. We'll see you tomorrow with news and updates. Have a nice evening. Goodbye.